Ladies and gentlemen, today we have an absolute legend in the house, a man who has redefined the limits of human strength, a record breaker, a world champion, and a warrior both in and out of the arena. Not just the 2017 world's strongest man, but a man who has put his body and mind beyond what most would even dare to imagine. The first human to deadlift 500 kilos, a feat so extreme, it nearly took his life. He's faced rivalries, injuries, sacrifices, and the relentless pressure of being at the top, yet he continues to evolve from a strongman, entrepreneur, actor, and a role model. But today we're not just talking about the lifts, the titles, or the records. We're going beyond the surface, diving into the mindset, the struggles, the sacrifices, the untold stories that have shaped the man behind the strength. So buckle up, because this is going to be raw, real, and unlike any conversations, I hope, Eddie Hall has ever had before. Welcome to the show, Eddie, the beast himself, Eddie Hall.
Hey, Rocco, how are you doing, man, firstly?
So good, man. So nice to see you.
Good, thanks. It's nice to be on with you. I've seen your events for years and years and years, and finally catching up properly.
Likewise. How's everything?
Yeah, everything's good, man. Life's good. Got two young kids, two under 2 years old. That's draining the life out of me. But other than that, I mean, it's enjoyable. It's just hard. Other than that, everything's great. It's life's very rewarding right now.
Awesome. Well, it's kind of a paying back, huh? I've known you. We've known each other for almost 5 years now, and you keep evolving in so many ways, which is it's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, well, that's the aim. Just keep getting better at stuff and keep bettering your life. That's all you can do, isn't it?
100%. Well, not for everybody, but and that's kind of the what I want to dive into on this conversation, because you've always been known for your intense mentality. But what do you think about when you're facing a mental lift, like the 500 kilo deadlift, right? Is it pure focus, or is there a mental battle happening behind the scenes?
It's it's a roller coaster. I mean, something like that. There was a massive mental block there for sure. I announced it in 2015 at the World Deadlift Champs, and I said it publicly to the crowd, basically saying, if I pull 500 kilo, how much is that worth to a sponsor, to whoever? So I put it out there, and the ripple effect of negativity from the back of that was insane. Like strong men saying I was an idiot, it's stupid, it's ridiculous. Who's going to break the world record? Because at that time, the world record was 462 kilos.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, there's no way you can break the world record by 38 kilos. It's impossible. I got called all sorts of names. So yeah, that was probably the hardest thing. It was just the amount of negative shit that was just thrown my way from strongman peers, from strongman promoters, from strongman fans, just the public in general. It was just, I just got so much hate for it. I really did. It was like, you're just being an idiot kind of thing. So that, in the first instance, was a super hard thing to sort of push aside and keep out of your mentality that, these people are wrong and it is possible. And then, of course, the training. The training was, it was insane. The training was definitely the hardest bit, obviously. Every single day was going in to better myself for tomorrow. That was the mindset. So every day was a grind. I was spending 4.5 hours a day in the gym just lifting weights, and then you've got to add on the physiotherapy, the hot and cold treatments, the stretching, the hyperbaric treatments, the cryotherapy treatments. You're talking hours and hours and hours of work every day. And, people think, oh, it's great, you get to go to the gym 4.5 hours a day. Yeah, okay. But then what about the hour and a half physiotherapy? What about the hour stretching? What about the hour hot and cold? What about the eating? Yeah, what about the eating 12,000 calories a day? cooking, sitting and eating constantly, always got something in your hand. It was, when I say it was a full-time job, it was more than a full-time job. It's probably the equivalent of 3 full-time jobs. And I'm not even taking the piss. That it's, it felt like I was working sort of 18 to 20 hours a day. It was insane.
Most people can't fathom pushing their body, beyond those limits. And I think you redefined limits with what you actually did. But how do you mentally prepare for something that could leave you injured or worse if things go wrong? You know what I mean?
Well, the mental aspect of it was the approach was pretty simplistic for me. It was something that I had to do to propel my career and my financials to a level where I was then able to win the world's strongest man. And that was my initial motive for the 500 kilos, is I kind of knew it was going to be a money spinner. Whoever does that weight is going to make a lot of money off the back of it. So I guess the mental side of things is you've got to have a motive, firstly, or else what's the point? That was the motive, to make money, to win the world's strongest man. It wasn't like I just want money for greed. I need that money to become a better athlete, to buy the hyperbaric chambers, the hot and cold tubs, the physiotherapy. It's an expensive game. So yeah, the sort of mental side is anchoring in with that, is firstly having the motive, and then dedication. You've got to just absolutely eat shit, live and breathe it constantly. There's no off switch. I was seeing my wife and kids for, this is probably God's honest truth, probably less than 2 hours a week, all in all. I was just constantly doing something strongman related. There was no off switch. It was just constant. So I ended up working with, so I think it's probably, I can't remember how far out, probably 6 months out, 6 months after I announced it. And training was going good, but every time I got over a certain weight, like if I went above like 1,000 pounds in weight, which is like 455 kilo, my head would go. And I just felt weak. And that was a massive mental block, because I guess a lot of all these people saying it can't be done, but anyone, anything over that kind of weight, you just, a 1 kilo PB is insane. Or what, beating the world record by 1 kilo is insane. And it was almost like a mental battle, just battering off this crap. And that was definitely a demon I had to fight on a daily basis. In the end, I had to almost convince myself. I had to reconvince myself that I could do it. And it was actually, I went and did a load of studies with a load of different universities. My camera fuzzy. I don't know why that's not focusing. Come on. I did a load of studies with a load of different universities. And it was actually a scientist that sat me down one day and explained to me that the human body is not capable of lifting 500 kilo off the floor at this stage. But he explained instances where it is. And he explained that a normal day-to-day person who walks about, goes to work, takes the kids to school, has access to probably 50% of their muscle fibers. And I'm sure you understand this better than anyone. And this is when it starts to click. And then an athlete, an athlete who's working with their body every day, training 20 hours a week, working very hard, at most has access to probably 65, 70% of the muscle fibers. And there's a reason for this. It's like your body's natural way of protecting yourself, because if everyone had access to 100% of their muscle fibers all the time, people would rip biceps off, they would snap ligaments, tendons all the time. So this is like your body's way of protecting yourself. It doesn't let you have access to 100% of muscle fibers. But then a woman who's been in a car crash, middle of the motorway, there's been instances where they've lifted cards off of the kids. And it's like, wow, there's been instances like, how's that woman done that? And she's basically had access to 100% of the muscle fibers. And that might, that woman who might not look that strong, when you've got access to twice as much muscle as the person with 50%, it's like, right, it makes sense. She might be half the size, but
she produces
with that access to the adrenaline, has got the same strength as a man my size. So it was that instance I was like, right, okay, I've got to figure out a way to trigger that fight or flight scenario in my head and release that adrenaline at the very, to the decimal, like second. It's got to be released at exactly the right time, because you get like, when that adrenaline hits, you've got probably 5 seconds window of like pure strength, and then it sort of dips. You know, your body, like your central nervous system, just crashes instantly almost. And this is why people, when people get in fights and there's a massive rush of adrenaline, and then afterwards they crash and they can't breathe and they're shaking, and that's your body trying to come back down as quick as it can. So I ended up working with a hypnotherapist and a psychiatrist to sort of channel that energy and turn a thought process in my head that I would go through over and over again for months and months and months. Every time I did a big lift, I would just like lock myself in a toilet and just visualize, and just stand there and just look myself in the mirror and just visualize these horrible thoughts. And then I'd go, kick the door off the toilet door and go out and lift these weights in the gym. And that replication was just done over and over and over again for months and months and months, until we get to the Leeds Direct Arena, where I locked myself in a disabled toilet before the 500 kilo deadlift. I was in there for about, I'm going to say 20 minutes. I'm just staring at myself in the mirror and just talking bollocks and putting my mind in a very stressful situation that was able to transfer over to a massive rush of adrenaline, that was able to transfer to a half-ton deadlift.
You say that in a way, first of all, it takes greatness in order to surpass sort of mechanism of protection, in order to kind of get to that kind of cognitive stage of terror and surpassing it, because that's one of the feats, right? And finding the way of putting your ego aside, of accepting visualization and getting to the point of asking for help is exceptional. I say that to a lot of young athletes or some pros that I have, and I talk about, you need to visualize, you need to get in that state, and people kind of go, oh, come on, this is bullshit. And I'm like, coming from you now, thank you.
Yeah, it's you've got to let that ego go, because people think that the power of the mind is, when you say that to people, you can see people almost like huff under the breath, like, yeah, okay. Like, you haven't trained for years and years and years for this moment. Yes, I have. But if your mind doesn't think you can do it, then it's not going to do it. And that's where these methods come in. And you've got to like visualize yourself in some kind of scenario and think about what kind of things are possible. I mean, just imagine for a second that you're in an arena like gladiators back in 2000 BC, and you've got to beat this man in front of you, otherwise your wife and kids are going to get slaughtered. You're going to have it, that fight or flight's going to kick in, and you're going to fucking have a go, aren't you? And that's the kind of shit you've got to think in your head. You've got to flick that switch and be able to put yourself in that arena, even though you might not be in that arena, but be able to access that adrenaline rush and the muscle fibers. That's the most important thing. That's what people don't quite understand with it. It's like opening up another level to your strength, and it's all done in here.
100%. There's the Eddie we see in the spotlight, but what are the struggles behind the scenes that fans never heard about? What I mean?
Yeah, the struggles behind the scenes. I mean, geez, look, I've been open and honest with, some mental blocks and things that have happened to me in the past over the years, and depression has been a big one for me, especially in my youth. And it's something that I always say, depression is not cured. You just learn to deal with it. And that's something that, even now, and from the outside, you see the house, the cars, the tanks, the family, and you think, oh, he's got it all. He's got to be happy, and you know, everything's great and nothing to worry about. But fuck me, it's like you have the days where everyone has those days. You get the self-doubt creeping in and the negative thoughts, and you just think things are going shit, and you know, oh, he's doing better than me. That's doing good, or I missed that opportunity. And yeah, a lot of things creep in. I'm not going to sit here and say I've got a shit life. I haven't. I've got a great life, but the negative thoughts definitely creep in quite often, and they can be hard to deal with.
You've said, and I've heard that in numerous interviews, and I've known you as a person like behind the beast, right, and the athlete, and you say it and you show it on what you repeatedly do, and what are the daily habits or mental practices that help you stay at the top of your game, or being more content, staying away from that creepy kind of depressive aspect of life?
I believe in challenging yourself every day. I think is a nice reminder of how tough life can be, and how you don't want to go back to those dark moments. You know, because that's the biggest thing that scares the shit out of me is going back to a full-time job, is going back to those days and struggling to put food on the table and struggling to pay your mortgage. I've been there, and I don't want to be that person again. So I think doing challenges every day to remind yourself of those moments. For instance, you know, I get up every morning and I've got a chiller fitted in the attic, like a cold water tank. It's got a chiller fitted to it. And I run the tap, and the shower head comes out, and I've measured it. It comes out at 3 degrees centigrade, and that's cold for a cold tub. But when it's running water, it's even colder.
Yeah.
And I'll stand under that for 30 minutes every morning, and the thoughts that are going through my head are exactly that. It's that boss who I hated. It's that bill that I couldn't pay. It's, you know, that having to work for somebody else, to get up every day and work your bollocks off to make money for somebody else, that made me miserable. And I think about those things whilst I'm putting myself through misery. And when that cold shower goes off and I dry off and you start to warm up, you feel fucking incredible. And then you come back to what you've got in front of you. And I think that's a very powerful thing. You know, it's like you've just put yourself through one of the most stressful situations the human body can go through. So the rest of this day is going to be a piece of piss. And that's why I do it. It's like huge amount of stress first thing in the morning, and then the rest of the day, nothing's ever going to be that stressful for the rest of the day. So it's like a way of keeping myself sort of level-headed and grounded, and reminding myself every single morning how miserable life can be is a great way. That's truly why I did the cold therapy.
It's to reconcile it away, it's a life that requires a constant toughness with the vulnerabilities that come with being like a human being. But yeah, I can see that, and it's never easy. Nothing was easy, because you've sacrificed so much for your career in Strongman. Okay, physically, mentally, personally. Yeah. Looking back, is there anything you wish you didn't have to sacrifice?
Time with the kids has been a real tough one. That's my biggest sacrifice that I've had to give. And, you know, those are years and time that I will never get back. You know, I missed pretty much every important life play event for my kids, you know, my two eldest. And that I will always regret that. I will always, you know, probably the rest of my life, you know, that'll haunt me. But it's what I've got around me now and what I'm able to provide for my kids now. It kind of makes it worth it, you know? So that was by far the biggest sacrifice. But in all honesty, when I sit here now and look back, if I could go back in time and do it all again, I would. I'd have to. But there, that's been a tough ride. It's caused a lot of problems. I don't want to dive too in depth to that, but it's caused a lot of problems for me even now that I'm still dealing with the repercussions of. But luckily, you know, I've got a great circle around me that hold me up and reassure me that the way I acted and held myself back then was the correct way, and it was. You know, I think you think of great people in history, and for me, great people are people that serve. You know, people in the army, people that go out and put their lives on the line to go and fight for our freedom, and they have to leave the kids for 6, 7, 8, 9 months at a time. You know, so and they make that's a sacrifice. That's a fucking sacrifice, but it's a rewarding job.
Well, 100%. That would be my a question that came up in when we said about sacrificing, because we think about the idea of sacrificing everything for success. Is it worth it? But what's the balance? Can you have a balance in There's no way.
I hear a lot of I call them entrepreneurs. Well, they call themselves entrepreneurs. I couldn't give a shit what they call themselves. But a lot of people that are in a very good position right now, and they say, "Oh, life's about balance. You should make time for family, make time for your friends, make time for your wife, your kids." I'm sorry, but it's bullshit.
It is.
I'm sorry. It'd be great if that was a reality, but I think I don't know what fucking world they're living in. It really isn't a reality. If you want to make it big in life, you've got to balls out and go for it, and you've got to push selfishly, just push everything to a side and be so military focused on what's in front of you. It's sacrifice, and anyone that says if you can do it all and you know, make it big and have a family, it is possible. I'm sure it is, but I honestly don't think it's. I think it's teaching the younger generation really bad things. Because I recently had to sack somebody who wanted it all. He was on a 50 grand a year salary. He had we traveled the world, got everything paid for, had all the kit in the world, just like I had a mint life, and then wanted to go out with friends, wanted to work for other people, wanted to do this, X, Y, and Z. And it's because these fuckers out there are saying, "Oh, you should have a balance. You should be able to have freedom, and you should be able to have more money. You deserve more." And it's like, yeah, you're brainwashing the younger generation that it's okay to be a lazy twat and to go to the pub with your mates and have holidays and have long weekends. Trust me, I didn't have a holiday for 10 years becoming the world's strongest man. And I say I sacrificed so much time with my kids. It's unreal. Never go to the pub. Never socialize with friends. It's been a hard journey.
It's been, and that's the aim of the question was for that, because they're destroying the younger generation with what exactly you said. And coming from you that you've done it, it gives credibility, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It does. In the aspect of what point did you realize that the relentless drive to be the best was kind of, because it can happen, right? We've seen that with all the greats out there consuming parts of your life that you didn't even expect.
Yeah.
What was that point?
So what's the question, Rocco? What
the relentless drive to be the best was consuming parts of your life that you didn't expect. Could you, besides the part that you said, which is extremely important, the family part, what was kind of the quintessence of losing things that mattered? What was that point that made you say, like, I need to stop?
Well, the one instance I can think of is 5 weeks before World's Strongest Man 2017, and I've been on this military mission of every day just drilling strongman, just eating, sleeping, and shit in it for years. But those last 2 years, from 15 to 17, it was punishment. Like every day was punishment. And I was seeing my wife and kids for less than 2 hours a week. And 5 weeks before World's Strongest Man, my wife literally just said to me, "I've had enough. Like I can't do this anymore. I can't just be a little side quest in your life. I can't see you 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week. Like, I need a husband, I need a father for the kids. And that's when, for me, I was like, shit, like, this is a reality now, that I could lose everything that I love. Like, my wife and kids could bugger off and I would lose everything. And I sort of almost negotiated a deal with my wife. And I said, give me 5 weeks. And if I don't win the world's strongest man, that's it. Like, I'm going to knock it all on the head, and I'll work more on my security company, and we'll make means meet somehow. We'll get by. And yeah, so that last 5 weeks was hard as well, because I was just so military focused. I kind of just almost brushed her feelings away. I mean, she moved out. I told her to move out because I didn't need the negativity around me. I just said, I can't deal with it. I will deal with this in 5 weeks. So piss off, go live with your dads or your sisters. I don't really care. Let me win the world's strongest man, and then we'll fix things. And that's luckily that's exactly what happened. I went away, and 5 weeks later I won the world's strongest man, and I came back and we fixed things almost immediately. I was able to become a husband and a father again. So yeah, you do have those moments where, like, geez, am I giving my whole life to this? That much so I'm willing to lose everything else? And in a way, I kind of was, and I kind of did. But you've got to know when to hang the gloves up, as they say. And I think 17 was my time. It was either now or never. And that was my, if I didn't win it, yeah, I would have had a tough decision to come home to. You either carry on with Strongman, or you work on wife and kids. That would have been the decision. So, and I don't want to say right now which one I would have chose.
Will that be one of the most vulnerable positions you've been in?
Oh, by far. Yeah, by far. That was a very, I mean, you got to bear in mind, it was 5 weeks before World's Strongest Man. It was all, it was the time around me and Thor were really competitive. We were competing at Europe's Strongest Man. I was having some mega battles in the strongman world, and that mental stress of the whole world is looking at you, and the whole strongman community is watching on, and I was very vocal. I said probably 2 years in advance, I'm going to win the world's strongest man one day. Watch this space. I was so vocal about it. All the interviews leading up, I've already won the show. I'm going home with that gold trophy, and I said that months in advance. I was so confident. So yeah, there was a lot of mental stress and a lot of vulnerabilities there that could have imploded at any point, really.
With rivalries with some of the strongest men in the world, any untold stories from those moments in competition that kind of reveals what goes on behind the scenes? That's another stressor.
Oh yeah, geez, yeah. I mean, strongman in general is a very camaraderie sport.
It is.
In general, I think I've traveled the world and I've competed against a lot of people, and you eat with them, you travel with them, you stay with them, you go and swim with the pool with them, you go each other's houses, you have parties, you do all sorts together. But I'll just say this: there's always one dickhead, and yeah, there always is. You go to a workplace, there's always one dickhead. You go to a school, there's always one dickhead, and in strongman, there's always one dickhead. And I think pretty obvious who I think that dickhead is. So
you answered my question. Perfect.
Yeah.
No, because people ask me, it's like, oh, is there rivalry in this? And I was like, it's the most, because I've worked in tennis, I've worked in track and field, I worked in MMA, I worked in tons of sports, and the camaraderie I've seen in strongmen is something that's unique. Yeah. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, no, it's nice. I remember, especially the last 3 years, 2015, 16, 17, me and Brian Shaw were the biggest rivals. You know, if anyone was going to win the title that year, it was between me, Brian, and Thor. And those 3 years, the World's Strongest Man, me and Brian, we'd hire a truck, we'd go out for dinner every single night. We'd go to the supermarket and buy each other Powerades or Gatorades. Like, we really looked after each other. And 15, I was there for his win. I was took him out for a meal for his win on the night he won, took him out for a steak dinner. Same in 16, was in Botswana, Africa. Brian's such a introvert. He just loves his own company. And I was like, come on, man, let's go out and celebrate. And it was actually me. I took him out for a curry. And he didn't want to do anything else. So I took him out for a curry when he won in 2016. We found this amazing curry house in Botswana. And because we've been eating shit food all week, it was the most amazing curry ever. And then in 2017, we were out there for 2 weeks, Botswana, every single day. We went for a steak and chips every single day, the same restaurant. And I'd take him every single day. And then when I won, we went out for a meal and he bought me a steak. And it was just like, you'd never get that in any other sport.
No, that's incredible. From all those competitions, I don't want to say your favorites, but they've been, people are now like they're brothers from another mother.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Brian is one of them.
Yeah, Brian's one of them. You know, he's I think we've just supported each other for so long. And it sounds daft, but like when you get into our situation where, you've got a lot of social media pull, you get a lot of attention, you got a lot of brand deals, you get a lot of financial reward, you lose a lot of friends. And with someone like Brian, like he doesn't want anything from me and I don't need anything from him. It's like a mutual friendship. And that's quite rare. We've both been there, won the gold trophy. And that, so yeah, the brotherhood between me and Brian is quite strong. I'd say for that reason, is we're just so the same. We're the same person in a way. We both thrive in business. We both won World's Strongest Man. We both, killed it on YouTube. So yeah, it's Brian's definitely one of them. And then, I think almost like the same goes for like the Stoltmans, like Tom Stoltman, Luke Stoltman, just on the same level. We're almost running the same page of life in a way. You win the World's Strongest Man, you almost automatically become a brotherhood.
Yeah.
Because you appreciate how hard it was to get there and do that and be that. So yeah, there's a few people in the strongman world that really do resonate. Magnus Ver Magnussen's another one. I really love Magnus Ver Magnussen, and again, just because I know we've been through the same shit and we're at the same level, and it's weird to say that, but it's like you win. It's like when you get the NFL rings. It's like a secret club, but you just feel like once you've won it, you're really a part of this club. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
No, it's incredible. And more kind of, as you were chatting about all this, is there something you're afraid to admit to yourself from all this kind of, all this path you've chosen up till now?
Something I'm afraid to admit to myself. Jeez, I guess probably, just afraid to admit normality is I keep saying I want to stay away from that normal life, but I crave it more than anything really now. It's weird when you're a kid, you're like, I want to be rich, I want to be famous, I want to win this, I want to do that, and then when you get there, it's like
what do you actually miss then from that kind of normal?
I miss going to the park with my kids. I miss going to a theme park and just not being bothered. I miss going to the supermarket and not being bothered. I miss going for a walk with my dog and vans not pulling up and asking for pictures. I just miss the quiet life. I really do. Like it's a tough situation because, as I say, from the outside it looks great. You've got the money, you've got the fame, And that's all people see, and that's all they think. Oh, you've got those, you must be fucking so happy. And it's like, yeah, well, you know, you get to go the kids with you to a theme park and not get bothered once. Whereas I take my kids to a theme park every 5 steps. Can I have a picture? Can I have a picture? Can I have a picture? And then your kids are standing there going, Dad, this is the shittest day I've ever had, because you're just getting mithered all the time. So I can't do that with my kids. I can't take my kids to a theme park. I can't go to the supermarket without being, you know, attacked. I call it attacked. It's not attacked. It's just, you know, it's a level of fame where it becomes stressful. And
yeah, but people need, like, we were having that when we were at the pub 2 weekends ago, when you were just trying to get a drink.
Yeah.
And people just need to understand about kind of boundaries.
And that's the problem.
And you're always really friendly, and I can say that I've seen you like being really tired, being really kind of harassed by people, but then you always keep, you know, being helpful with a smile. But
I'm always polite.
You're always polite. I can say that.
I think that instance was with you. Someone was asking me to sign a shirt, and I said, "Look, man, I've just had a whole day of this shit. I'll do a picture with your kid, but I'm not signing any fucking shirts." And that's exactly what I did. But yeah, it's there's just no off switch, you know. And I think he just, to myself, of like, I deserve an off switch, and you don't get one. You don't get one. Luckily, you know, but as I say, it's got its pros and cons, and the pros are I've got a house that's fucking humongous. I've got a garden that's humongous, and I've created paradise here for me and my family, and we don't have to go anywhere, you know. We don't have to go to a swimming pool because I've got one here. We don't have to go to a theme park because I can just fucking build one, you know. So it's got its pros and cons for sure.
If you could have a conversation with the 18-year-old Eddie, what's the first thing you tell him?
Oh man, fuck!
I had to go there.
Wow, that's a tough one, man. Because I've made a lot of mistakes in life, and, you know, done things the wrong way. Oh, geez. But then you know, hindsight's a great thing, and I always say you shouldn't change your past. You shouldn't want to change your past, because you never know what could happen. You know, I always think of the instances like people say, "Oh, you should have started YouTube 10 years ago." I'm like, yeah, well, I would have made a lot of money. But then when you think about it, would I have won the World's Strongest Man if I'd have started YouTube 10 years ago? Maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I'd have been too fascinated with earning a quid than earning a title. So I would tell 18-year-old Eddie to keep doing what he's doing and fucking work hard, which he would anyway.
So Nietzsche said that the best life someone can live and not live is the one that he wanted to change. If he's happy, he would live the same exact thing over and over again, and he would be happy. So that's amazing, man. Like, sitting there saying that wouldn't change a thing, kudos. You know what I mean? Because, of course, we make mistakes, but that's who you are today because of all those mistakes.
It's a part of life, and I'm a big believer in failing, and it's hard. Failing's tough, losing's tough, but I believe that failing and losing are a part of building who you are, and without those failures and losses, you will never be the person that you wanted to be. You know, if I came in and win World's Strongest Man first go, you know, it would have completely disrupted everything. You know, the ego would take over, and you'd think you're better than you were. And I think, but going in and losing, it's like, right, I've got to go away and work hard. I've got to better myself. I've become a better person, become a stronger, better man. And I think those losses and knockdowns are sometimes what you need in life. Makes you sit back and think, right, what's actually important around me? And quite a few times I've had some failures and losses, and I've sat back and I've gone, yeah, but hang on a minute. I've got a wife and 3 kids at home, and that's what's important right now. So sometimes those losses and failures are much needed.
Eddie, you won like titles, broken records, push yourself like further than most humans ever will. And to be honest, and it's intriguing. Do you ever wonder what's left? Like,
oh, geez, man. I mean, yeah. I mean, look, I'm forever finding challenges to keep myself occupied, and keep pushing forward, because it'd be quite easy for me to go, right, done it, sit back now, go live on a beach in somewhere and just chill out. But that's not me. That would probably burn me up inside. I think I've got to keep pushing forward. So, you know, for me now, I'm training for a big fight. I can't announce it yet, but I'm training for a big fight in Poland against, you can probably guess who it is, against a renowned strongman. So that's going ahead. And that'll be going ahead probably end of April. Ooh. So, yeah. And that is, you know, I try and play it down, but it's a big bull task. You know, I'm putting myself out there. I'm putting myself into a massive, uncomfortable situation where I could get seriously hurt and seriously embarrassed. But I'm like, I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to give myself 110% effort here, and I'm going to see what I can do. And that's what excites me, and that's what keeps me getting up every day and training hard and working hard. And yeah, get that adrenaline going. It's where I thrive, you know, under the pressure.
100%. Now I've got a kind of a curveball here. If your son wanted to follow in your footsteps and become a strongman, what's the first thing you tell him?
Ooh, well, firstly, I would love that. I honestly don't think he does. He's loving his training, but you know, he just does it really strong. Yeah, he loves his food. I think he just does it because it makes him feel good. It's really helped him mentally. So that, firstly, I honestly couldn't give a shit like if he does or he doesn't. What's the first thing I'd tell him? Cheesecake, man. Cheesecake is the secret. It's no, I'd probably. It's tough because, like, do you warn your kid about all the stresses and strains and problems, or do you just go, best thing you'll ever do, mate? I think
a bit of both.
The thing is, I don't want my son to go through all that. I genuinely don't. I think it's a massive amount of stress and pressure to put on a child at that age is it's not right, and he gets enough of that as it is. Fuck it. What would I tell him? First thing I'd say is, right, I've got your back. I will do everything in my power to help you achieve your goal, whatever that may be. And I would, you know, financially, time-wise, I would just give every ounce of life I had to him to help him achieve his goal.
Incredible. And would you coach him differently than how you were trained? What would you do differently? Because that's the aspect as well. You came from a background, right, as a swimmer. For you, there has not been an on and off. Well, it hasn't been an off switch because you athlete, business owner, pushing again for strongman.
Yeah.
And then having your fight again in a few months, possibly. So, what would be different? What would you coach him differently? Because you've got all this experience now, right? Or would you hand him somewhere and you could just be on the kind of the background?
No, I think because I've learned a lot, and I never had a coach, I never had a nutritionist. Everything I did was all through trial and error. So I would stop him doing all that error, you know, all those wasted hours doing too much hot cold, all those wasted hours doing too much, I don't know, too many sets, you know, wearing yourself out. There's listening to your body. There's a few things that, you know, I did when I'm in my youth, and you look back now and it's like, geez, if I'd have known this or known that or trained that a little bit differently, I'd be such a better strongman. So yeah, there's a lot of experience that I could pass down to Max in that respect. Probably more so in the recovery side of things, you know, and that's the secret to being a good athlete. It's, you can train as hard as you want, eat as much as you want, but unless you're recovering, you're never going to be a top athlete. And that's where I would excel with Max, and he'd have all the tools and resource to do so. So I think the training, be a lot more smarter with Max, a lot more smarter.
What was the kind of, because I've known you speak a lot about recovery. What was kind of the, let's say, the point in your career that you were like, this is not helping. I need to You know what I mean? Like everybody's like push, lift, push.
Well, I was doing hot and cold treatments back in 2014 before it was a trend. You know, before it was cool to go and jump in a cold water and shout about it on the internet. And I was doing that, geez, every single day. Like, and then when you sort of, as the years go on, you realize that you're actually detrimental to your training by doing too much. You know, you're stopping the inflammatory process and your body's not healing. Whereas now, like, I only do hot and cold treatments twice a week, and I feel so much better for it. It's took me years to learn that. I mean, 2015, I built my own hyperbaric chamber with an engineer. Spent quite a bit of money, and spent quite a bit of money and built my own hyperbaric chamber. And you know, I was doing things like building that, and then to test it, I'd put a rabbit in there, put my pet rabbit in there. Pressurize it up, and watching this rabbit through the window and waiting for its ears to go bang, and it survived. So I was like, fuck, right, if the rabbit's okay, I'll be okay. So I jumped in and did my own hyperbaric treatment. But you know, I hot tubs, cold tubs, hyperbaric, shockwave machines,
red light
therapy.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Spending copious amounts of money on physiotherapy and cryotherapy and whatever else. Like, geez, if you add it all up, like, I could have paid for probably 2 houses, you know, 100%. With all the money and investment I put into the recovery side. And it's probably 1 house too much, you know? But I'm a bit like, because I've always been my own coach, I'm a bit like a pig at potato. If you say, oh, this product will make you 10% stronger, I'll buy 100 bottles of that straight away. But right, okay, I'm going to have, and then you'll probably find out 6 months later, oh, you should only be taking one every other day. You've perhaps overdone it. It's like, bastard. Then I'll get, you know. So I would always jump the gun at things. And like, oh, hot and cold's good for you. Right, okay, bit of research. Yeah, understand that. Right, hot and cold every day. Hot tub, cold tub. You know, spent 20 grand on a hot tub and a cold tub. Done. It's, put myself in some financially sticky situations where, you know, I couldn't afford to pay my mortgage, but I could buy a hot tub, sauna, hyperbaric chamber. You know, those got priority over paying my mortgage.
Would you, what is your off switch now? Well, I know you're training for your match, but what does Eddie do to just chill? You know what I mean? Like, you need to counterbalance that now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't get much chill time with 2 kids under 2, I'll be honest. But like Sundays, like Sunday just gone yesterday, I lit a fire pit in my garden, got some infrared heaters on, and smoked a big fat cigar and just watched a movie on my phone, stinking in a t-shirt and shorts, middle of winter. And that to me is just bliss. And my daughter came out and she's sitting on my knee and we're cuddling and we're just watching Moana, you know, and that was just bliss. You know, that's like a proper nice unwind for me. So I guess, yeah, just doing something regular and with myself is how I switch off. I'll play the PlayStation now and again. That really helps me just, you know, switch my brain off and just do something different. Very rare occasion I get to go on that, but yeah, there's quite a few things I like to do.
Some advice for the future kind of strongman, and then I've got 4 really weird questions for you.
So you want me to give some advice to the current
just some advice for the future strongman? Like, people think it's an easy ride because, you know, people come after we finish, you know, and they're like, oh, I want to be a strongman, I want to be this and that, and I always go and I'm like, fine. One of the world's strongest men, find the Britain's strongest man, find Europe's strongest man, say that to him, and wait what's he gonna reply.
So my advice to a future strongman would be make your mark, because I think everything's become a bit norm these days. You know, winning the world's strongest man's almost a norm, you know. It's like it's sort of losing its prestige, you know. And I think you've got to one up it, you know. Like for me, doing the 500 kilo deadlift was my prestige. That was like,
yeah,
That's solidifying my name in the history books, cements your legacy, and then with the combined World's Strongest Man title, it's just, you know, it just concreted everything of like that's how you cement your name in the history books. So I would say, yeah, make your mark. And that might be a big log press or a big deadlift. I don't know what it is, but make your mark. It might be doing something like raising £1 million for charity. I don't know, but make your mark, because if you don't make your mark, if you just come and win another World's Strongest Man title, you'll be forgotten very quick.
100%. Are you ready for 4 questions? I'm going to just lighten up your the whole kind of interview.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
So, have you ever been kicked out of an all-you-can-eat buffet?
I have not, actually. And do you want to know a reason why? Is I fucking hate all-you-can-eat buffets. I think they're disgusting.
There are.
I think they are disgusting. I think there's people touching the food and the quality is always shit. So I steer clear of all-you-eat buffets like the plague. Like, I fucking hate all-you-can-eat buffets. So no. So the answer is no. I've never been chucked out.
Okay, and to continue, what's the most insane meal you've ever eaten?
Oh, jeez. So I did a TV show called Eddie Eats America, and I did a whole batch of like weird and wonderful eating challenges. One of the most insane, I didn't quite finish it, was I ate a 10 pounds of ice cream out of a kitchen sink, and I nearly did it. And I know I was like the sickest I've ever been in my life. And I remember projectile vomiting ice cream outside this ice cream parlor in America. And it was just like a river of fucking blue, black, like white, whatever colored ice cream just running down this pathway. Yeah, it was pretty tough. It was pretty tough. Yeah.
What's the weirdest DM you've ever received?
Oh, jeez. I mean, there's so many, but the usual is like, can I buy you shitted up pants and socks and whatever else? It's and you hear these stories and you're like, no, it genuinely happens. There's some absolute freaks of life out there that want to buy your boxes that are unwashed and they want to do whatever with them. So yeah, there's some weird DMs for sure.
Last 2, I promise. If you had to swap bodies with another strongman for a week, who would it be, and what's the first thing you'd do?
Fucking, I'll swap bodies with another strongman for a week. That's a really weird one. Jeez. It's going to be Brian Shaw. Just because I love trolling Brian. And I'd probably do something that's going to ridicule him for the rest of his life. What would I do in Brian Shaw's body? God, there's so many possibilities.
I've seen some of your videos, guys.
Honestly, there's probably a lot I couldn't talk about, but yeah. It'd be Brian Shaw, and I would just ridicule him to the end of Earth. Like, he would never be able to show his face in public again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you imagine some things? If you had to describe Thor using only a meme emoji, which one would it be, and what?
Oh, it'd be the crying face emoji, because he's a little crybaby. He can't take a loss.
Okay, Eddie, what's next? What's the plan? What's going on with business and Beast Farm?
Yeah, well, Beast Farm's doing good. It's growing every month, and we're trying to get more worldwide. We're fighting trademarks all over the world, but yeah, we're going to expand pretty global, pretty quick, I'm hoping. But that's doing really good. And thank you for the support, anyone that's bought anything. Bringing out loads of new products, and then I guess for me personally, I've got the fight with a certain renowned strongman. And that's going to be in Poland at the end of April. So that's going to be big news when that's announced. And then, yeah, I think arm wrestling is probably on the cards for me, doing a bit more arm wrestling. Don't know who or where or when, but that's definitely something I want to get back into once the fighting's done. And then bodybuilding. I actually want to do a bodybuilding show.
Wow.
Just a one-off, just to see what I can look like and get trimmed up to, and just do it once. Just see what I can do just once. So, yeah, there's plenty to look forward to, really.
Super exciting. Eddie, I really appreciate your time, all the experience and wisdom you shared. And it means a lot, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Rocco. It's great to talk with you, man. And hello to your fans, and hope you're all doing good.
Thank you so much.
What's going on? What's going on?
Get busy.
Here it is. What's going on? What's going on?
Get busy.